It's November 2023. Can hardly believe it. This is Jason here. It's Monday, and it's the Neutral Zone. Thank you for joining me. This is Jason Schwartz here in Maui, Hawaii. I'm on KAKU 88.5, 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. You can also find us on Akaku, Maui Community Media, TV to me, I'm an old guy. And that's at Channel 55 on cable. You can also find us on the web at akaku.org, and you can look up our show and go that way. You can go to MauiNeutralZone.com and see all of our shows and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows and past years, past shows. I've been many different things in my Maui lifetime. It's 1988 I got here, and I am happy to say I'm still here. I am unhappy to say that some of the things that I thought should have been changed years ago aren't changed. And so is life. We all have our complaints. I did an interview the afternoon of Monday with a gentleman that was going to be my guest last Monday, but he couldn't make it. So I did it in the afternoon. His name is David Litman. David Litman is the director of the TeranJYoung Foundation Center. It's a youth center. Well, he'll tell you more about it. So I did maybe a half-hour interview, and then we're going to get back and talk after that because there are some current issues that I'm just going to sort of lay out. We're a call-in talk show, so when we get back at the end, maybe a half hour from now, if you have questions and things about all that's going on radio, you can't see that it's on the screen if you were on TV, but then it's too late. 808-873-3435. We are live, though, on Channel 55, Akaku, Maui Community Media, right now. 808-873-3435. You might write it down. I'm going to set up and put on David Litman, and you're going to hear our jingle one more time. You ready? Here we go. Aloha and welcome to the Neutral Zone. MauiNeutralZone.com. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. You can find all our shows at MauiNeutralZone.com, but you can find us, obviously, at KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, and on Akaku Maui Community Television Media, Channel 55. You can also find us at akaku.org under Maui Neutral Zone. You can find us. You can put our name in neutrals in YouTube. Welcome to our show. We are doing it in Zoom again today because my guest is busy and couldn't make the scheduled date at 11 there in the studio. So we're recording it. We're going to run it in a different week. My guest today is David Litman, who is the director of the TeranJYoung Foundation, and I don't want to steal his thunder. He'll be with us in just a second. I'll let him introduce what he's doing and tell you more about it. Aloha and welcome back here. We are at the Neutral Zone. Our guest has arrived, David Litman, the director of the TeranJYoung Foundation. I don't want to steal his thunder. I'm going to let you know what he does, and I think we're going to discover immediately why this is an important part of our community and why I'm doing it in Zoom in a time when we could have been in the studio. He's busy handling things like right now, huh, David? Isn't that right?
Yeah, we have urgent youth things popping up, unfortunately. Yeah, it can be a reactive environment sometimes, unfortunately.
So TeranJYoung Foundation means to me that you're going to be doing all kinds of things, but your part is, please let our audience know.
Yeah, who are we? What do we do? We've got multiple. TeranJYoung Foundation is a nonprofit that is an operating foundation funded primarily by Celera James and the wife of Genesis Young, who's our executive director. So we're a privately funded nonprofit with many different programs. We do programs in the schools, trying to create what we call restorative schools, where the focus is on less on punishment, more on social and emotional skills and learning and healthy conflict resolution.
Let me just for a second.
Yeah.
When you're speaking it like our audience knows, you said things in a hurry that you went by.
I did. You're right. Yes.
Juicy things, Slow down.
All the different pieces.
Give them a bit of taste. You're the director of the TeranJYoung Foundation. Is yours like a division of it, or you call yourself?
Well, I'm the director of programs and training for the foundation, and then there's an executive director, Genesis Young. And so, but I was primarily hired to oversee one of the programs, although I'm kind of involved in all of them.
Sure.
I was hired to open up our teen shelter, which is a short-term shelter for teens 12 to 17 who have a need for sanctuary for whatever reason. And then, but it took us 4 years to get that thing built. I got hired. They thought they'd be open in 6 months, and we bought a building, had to renovate it, and with all the permitting and construction and everything else, it took 4 years.
Things took a long time to actualize.
Exactly.
Right? So now, let me see if I get it in a nutshell. I'm purposely slowing it down because I can tell.
No, I'm going a mile a minute these days, so I appreciate
you're right. I was going to say, you're being a director of an organization is a youth bridge back into programs to support them because they've had some kind of conflict, right? Is that what's up?
Yeah, it could be for a few different reasons, that youth might come here. I mean, some of them are here because they're in the guardianship of child welfare services. They've been taken from the homes, and they're trying to figure out long-term placement for the youth, and there's nowhere to put them short-term while they figure that out. But we also have families that just come to us, and we have a grandmother raising kids, and they're teenagers, and they're out of control. They need a break, and they need help, and so they can send them to us to get some space, and then we can try to help coordinate resources and programs and services for them.
You're sort of like the peanut butter to take all the different pieces and make them all seem smooth. You have to get in there and find out what's not working and make it better.
Yeah, and it could be different case by case. So, but for whatever reason, if a youth needs, then
so where is your place now? I know, but I'm
not. We're in Wailuku. We're right in downtown Wailuku, right near the post office.
So you wouldn't know it if someone was coming to the area. They wouldn't know that you house these situations. And do you have counseling from there?
There's a sign out front. Technically, we're just a child care institution, right? That's all we're licensed to be, is to take care of kids, keep them safe, keep them fed, clothed. That's our primary function. That being said, we do have space in our building to, say, bring in counselors or do other programs, in our building, after school programs, drop-in programs, outreach programs. And then we can bring in resources for the youth. We do sort of try to coordinate for the youth and their families. Technically, we don't provide that many services, other than we do have our mediation services where anybody in conflict can come and get support in resolving conflict, and we'll use our mediation skills with the families, right? So we do that on.
Do you work in a bridge? So you're like, I'm just talking out loud.
Yeah.
You're like a bridge, like kids been in trouble and now he's in school and they're finding a way to deal with this situation. Now you have a child there with you, and that child might have been heading to a jail direction, maybe, and you give them some space and you sort of give counseling in that you're showing, like you say, you're showing them a different way of interacting with people, which is what you were talking about, right?
Right. We try to be an environment that can be a model for them to see, what healthy living can look like, in the sense of people resolving conflicts in healthy ways and are functional and communicating, and try to create that safe space for them and give them a refuge as well as a model for some healthy behavior. And then we try to help the families get the resources they need as well. Our main goal with the youth would be to reunite them with family, right? To get them back with their families, or find a long-term placement for them, maybe with another family member, or even a Hanai family. But and then if that doesn't work, then of course then you're looking at foster care, the foster system, and trying to get them into foster homes or treatment programs, or other types of programs and things that might be servicing them better. So, we're just, we're kind of a facilitator for that and a short-term holding space, as well as trying to, add in our own educational pieces though, right? And programs for the youth and the families to help just in general.
Well, it's interesting when someone's in that position as a youth or even as a big youth, but the environment and the counseling and like I say, a different patterned environment than their home, and you're counseling the home environment to understand also a different kind of communication style. So that's really an important thing in what you're doing. I don't imagine you're long into existence yet, and where I'd say, okay, I bet your limitation is now go find foster care places. You
Right,
talk about finding solutions to these things, and it's like, well, remember that thing about little boy corner that sat in the corner with his finger in the dike, or am I missing a couple of nurses together?
The Dutch boy with his finger in the dike, keeping it together.
Yeah, we're keeping it all together. It's almost like you're holding back a wall. You're trying to take care of an incredibly important thing in someone's life in a system that has been showing in general that it's inadequate. So you're helping model future young men and women, yeah, right?
Ideally, yeah, because they're only with us potentially a short period of time. Our goal is sort of a 30-day or less kind of stay, because we want to free up the bed for the next youth in need, right? So we have 13 beds, and we want to rotate. We don't want to necessarily just take 13 kids and have them for 5 years. We want to be able to help hundreds and hundreds of kids, right?
Well, I think of it like Aloha House for the non-alcoholic. How's that? Or women helping women, but no one's got to hit you. It's a different kind of a bridge treatment system.
Right, that's an important point to make, is that the only qualification really for entry for our program is that they have to be between 12 and 17. They can be of any gender, and then they just have to be able to do basic self-care, clothe themselves, feed themselves. We can't provide that level of care, and also they can't really be an active danger to themselves or others.
So the public can find you. Either they can call you directly because they themselves would like to enroll someone, or agencies find you, that kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. And we're trying to do promotion because we opened on September 6th and it was crickets. There was no one coming. I thought we had, so we had to do more promotional work, which I've done. And we've had 5 youth so far. We're only 2 months old. We've serviced 5 youth so far. 3 of whom are actually already discharged from the program. So we only have 2 in the program at this moment, right as we speak. But 1 more might be coming in today. We're not sure. It's going to be a very revolving door, right? In providing service. But yeah, that's basically the only criteria. So they can come from a number of sources. And
do you keep them a minimum time, in other words, so that you have a chance to do your work with them, or you're shooting?
There's not an established minimum. I mean, it could just be that a family just needs 24 hours, just as a respite, and they just need some space, and then they're going to try to get back together on their own. I mean, we're technically not officially, involved with their situations, right? It's like they can kind of, guardians can come and take the kids as whenever they're ready, but we're going to offer that. We're going to offer that as a service. We're going to check in and see, hey, what is the issue? How can we maybe you need a little more space, or maybe they don't, maybe it's just a short-term thing and they just need a little help. It's very case by case, it's going to be very situational. So,
well, I know you for a while, so I would say, well, the reason that David Litman is in this position is because he is a great guy. He's a guy. I've watched you not only raise your own kids, and I'm sure that has had a dynamic in your learning, but you're a counselor. You wanted to tell us a little about you. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, sure. No,
important, I think, for anyone coming to you to realize you are not just off the street. You come qualified. I've really always had this feeling when I've known you, what a terrific, grounded guy. When Jennison Solara found you in this way, I thought, what a great choice. So help me.
It's an interesting job. I mean, ideally, you'd want someone who's run a youth shelter before, and I never have done that, but I've done a lot of other things. and have a lot of analogous, skills that I bring in, right? So yeah, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, so that helps a lot. Having that skill, and being able to do counseling, even though the people who come in aren't my clients, I'm not directly counseling them, I still have that skill that I can bring in. But I also come from like a really diverse, weird background. I came out of the corporate world in my early years and did a lot of corporate training and event organizations, in different roles. So I feel like, and honestly, when they hired me, even though the shelter wasn't open, all this time preparing for the shelter, I've gotten to get to know the resources in the community and really get involved with different organizations that, bridge agencies like the Hawaii Kaika Partnership that, brings together agencies and government agencies and nonprofits that are devoted to helping prevent child abuse and neglect. They meet once a month, and the Kulike meeting that the court produces that gets again agencies together to help kids stay out of the justice system, and so I've got to know all the different resources and people and players, which really helps when it comes to trying to figure out and make referrals, and try to solve the problems.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you over the years, but I know in this time probably these are the times when you're training a staff and trying to bring together people and elements. What have you found as far as the people that in your staff, and what kind of backgrounds do they share? I'm letting our audience, the way
Sure.
I'm thinking, letting our audience
Sure.
kind of really get a feeling for you guys. I know
Yeah.
you have a thing for peace and a thing here very recently, but
yeah, we're not so well known in the community, right? Yeah. No, we got really lucky. I mean, I was told, oh, you got to hire people. That's so hard to do now. It's so hard to get good people. I mean, one of the things we decided to do is to pay a living wage to people, which I think really helps attract good people. Which I think is living our mission to be, of peace and sustainability. I think that's a big part of it. But we were able to really hire some good people. A number of them have experience in youth shelters, which is great. And some of them don't, but we hire some younger people though too as well, because they're closer. They people who've been sort of in the system, right? They came out of the system, the foster care system, other systems on island. They grew up here, so they know the youth. They can connect with the youth in a really direct way. So we call our staff. I was asking one of our cultural advisors. We have a Hawaiian cultural advisor as well that works with us. A number of them actually, because we want to be culturally sensitive to the youth who are coming in. And just in general, be more culturally sensitive and respectful of diversity and where we are here on this island. And I asked Kumuluana, so what do we call our staff? Because this is what they do. What should we call them? And I wanted to give it a Hawaiian name, with permission, of course. But she said, I think it would be very fair to call them Kia'i, because Kia'i are guardians and caretakers, right? That's what they do. So that's what we call our staff. That's the job title. You're a youth shelter, Kia'i. We have 10 Kia'i right now. Of course, because we have to staff 24/7. We don't want to have ideally 2 people on shift 24/7, sometimes 3, depending on how many kids and what shift it is. So we're trying to really cover and make sure we have that support available as you come in. And so yeah, they have that diverse background, but they all have the desire, at least the willingness to approach the youth with those 3 components that we think are important, which is trauma-informed care, recognizing that the youth are coming in traumatized and being sensitive to that and caring. This thing called nonviolent communication that we could spend hours talking about, but if anybody wants to Google it, nonviolent communication and Marshall Rosenberg, you can look that up on YouTube, and there's all kinds of great videos of Marshall talking about it. He's the gentleman who created it. But it's basically a way of doing peaceful conflict resolution and having healthy relationships. So we bring that in, and what we call restorative practices, which are this idea of not using punishments and rewards as much as building relationship and paying attention to the kids' needs, and certainly having protective boundaries, but trying to be more collaborative in our approach with working with the youth. So they're all on board with that, and we train them on that. Some come with more or less of that, but my job is to train them and build the culture here and really have that established. So it really is a safe place that's healthy for the kids. And then some of them come in with different skills. Someone's got to cook every meal. So we've got some people who are better than others at cooking, and other people who jump in to do the cleaning. And we're trying to, it's a very flat structure. We're not trying to have a lot of layers of management.
So the people that come don't get interactive with their like you say, so someone's cooking meals for them rather than them sort of getting into a house situation.
Well, it's a home environment, right? So yeah, so the youth are helping as well. Like we're giving the youth chores, it's a an open space layout, so there's the bedrooms and then there's a common space in the kitchen. And so everybody's sort of living together and we're all trying to create model a healthy family environment, basically.
Like I said, it's going to be interesting over time to see the different dynamics that happen. I'm sure next time I speak to you, you'll tell me, well, the justice system has a hole here and over there, and
yeah,
new services could use, and mental health comparatively, and we should use it.
Yeah, we already know that. Yeah.
Well,
the
but
foster system in particular I think we're going to start doing more work, maybe helping with getting involved with maybe lobbying for change and helping support the foster care system so that it's both, easier for appropriate people to become foster parents and easier for them to maintain that and make it more appealing because we need more foster homes on the island. I mean, that's a huge piece that directly affects us because a lot of the youth come because when they come in, if there's nowhere for them to go, so much for 30 days, right? We need to make sure they can have healthy places to go and having, more and more foster care resource on the island is a big deal and something that our nonprofit's going to get heavily involved with, I think, in trying to help promote and fix.
Well, that is a big gigantor issue. We had I don't have to tell you, but these shows go all over the world. We in Maui, we love our visitors, but sometimes our visitors want the spaces that we need to live here. And in some of that and how it's worked into our economy has created a situation where we don't have enough local housing and the new things get bought by people a lot that don't live here, that rent it back to people here that can't afford to live in these things. And so it's a massive, we're on radio and TV. We can't use some of those words, especially when teaching. But this thing is a major problem. So what you're doing is an incredibly important thing because people that are in those development years are having the same kind of housing issues and challenges. And I'd say people of all ages are having housing challenges. So the foster care system and the whole thing, it's going to be interesting to see, I can see that Sulara and Genesis, and because they have resources, can expand in different ways. You probably many people know about Hale Mahaolu, which is a housing thing that works with HUD and provides housing for kids with families and stuff. And they also have a thing for seniors and helps off with rent. So all this is going to be coming out. So your voice and your experience with the youth in this area will play an even louder and more significant voice over time. And you have such a beautiful and easy demeanor about things that, I can I sound like I'm rough, but you've developed that nonviolent communication style.
Again, I tried, yeah. It's kind of like a duck. It's like a duck, right? It looks all calm on the surface and below the water.
If you look under the water, this guy is pedaling.
I know. Well, it's hard, because we are only 2 months old, right? So it's like we're a toddler, and yet we're growing fast. So we're not an infant, we're a toddler at this point, but still stumbling and falling down a lot.
Well, and I think that's why I wanted you on to let the public hear about you. Because I have the good fortune of, like you, having been introduced to a thing called Mankind Project. And little did I know, this guy saw David Litman around. I knew his wife, Christina, and her mom, and, but then when I got close and said this guy, I thought, man, this guy is talented. Yeah, we're going to direct him into something. Genesis, we just did a Mankind weekend this time. You know about it. A new warrior training adventure. And I've had people come to me that have gone through it and said, that guy Genesis, he really helped me we're not talking the details of the training, but his background and his approach and his beautiful heart have really opened up this opportunity to put someone like you. I mean, that to me is interactive with our community in a way. People that have money do all kinds of stuff and they throw money at this agency, throw money at that agency. But to create a new world, we need to create new foundations and new solid things that think in a way of nonviolent communication. The idea of restorative justice, that whole thing, that's a really, can you explain that to our audience in a little slower, better way?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
The words restorative justice really say so much.
It does. It's a whole other division. Actually, that's the other program we run is Restorative Justice Center of Maui, and we're trying to get those concepts really into the court system here, especially the juvenile court system. But the idea of restorative is if the opposite of punitive. So the theory is that if crime hurts, or if harm is done, then whatever's done to fix it should be healing, and punishment just does more harm. And the argument is that if punishment worked, we'd be in the safest place ever, right? Because we have so many people in jail right now. And so there's this theory that punishment is going to be a deterrent, right? And that if under the threat of punishment, you'll do good. And it might work to a certain degree, but it tends to cause a lot more harm than good. And so, it really just came out of indigenous cultures, right? So if you were in a small village, right, and small tribe, and someone does something that causes harm, you can't just throw them in a jail. You need that person. They're a valuable part of the community. The community doesn't have resources to kind of exile people. Sometimes they would exile them out of the village if they're really dangerous. So this isn't to say you don't use protective force, right, in certain situations, right? Some people aren't able to be part of society, and they need to be protected. Society needs to be protected from them, but in most cases, if a kid spray paints a wall, what's the right answer? As opposed to punishing them, wouldn't it be even more effective, and even in a way more difficult for the kid, but more valuable, to bring that kid together with the person whose wall they spray painted, and actually facilitate a healing there? What does it take to make it right? And give people the opportunity to make it right. Because in the current justice system right now, the guy whose wall was spray painted isn't even involved. Right, it's like the state takes over in criminal cases, that they do the prosecution, and the victim never even gets a voice. So if you ever look up, there's a great TV series that Ben Jones did called The Redemption Project, and it was all about him helping facilitate these conferences between victims and offenders in crime. They would get the victims and offenders together. Now, of course, you don't just throw them together. I mean, there's a whole process to this, right? To create safety. I mean, obviously, the offender has to be willing to admit that they've done harm, for this to work. But if they are, then there's all this healing that can occur, and all this repair that can occur. And so that's really the idea in the schools. Instead of suspending a kid and just kicking them out of the school, like that doesn't really help anything. Why don't we actually facilitate figure out what is it that caused the behavior in the first place? What's underneath it? How do we make it right? How do we fix and repair things? So that's kind of a short version of restorative justice. It's this idea of having healing and repair as opposed to punishment.
Well, I think that's really, I look at the two ends of the spectrum here, right? A restorative justice system for someone that's done wrong, that needs to come back right, see eye to eye and level with the person they've offended, and make things better together. What a beautiful concept. And in the other one, the youth who need that extra help to look at things in a different way.
Yeah,
I can see that. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just youth do well if they can is kind of my theory. Sometimes it's not because they don't want to, it's because they have ability issues, right? And you want to consider those too.
Well, those two things go so well together. I mean, I hope that the restorative justice system and the nonviolence factor and the communication factor really gets embraced by the school system. I hope that they're open to that, to be able to create an environment so when you let someone back into schools, that the places they're going back to are improving the general quality, sort of fighting against the social media aspects of our world. I had a guest on today I did a show this morning. In fact, him, Scott Bushnell, was talking about the things he has in the jail. He has groups of men together in the jail. Our world needs communication, and I can't even put it up into a more important place
than how important you are, because the people that go through your program will be ambassadors for this kind of a thing wherever they're going. And, what you're doing is, what do we say? We and Mankind Project lay a foundation for the future of our world by setting an example. And in what you're doing it and setting an example. And again, I know we're early in this, but you wouldn't have set up this foundation with a guy like Genesis and Sulara unless the outcome was going to be something that could be impactful and
positive into the community.
Positive into the community. We who are blessed in what ways we are need to find productive ways to give back. And I almost don't like keeping you here. I know you're so busy. You've got a teacher to go call back. Any important things that you'd like to share? I know I have your information sitting on screen like you've got, which is great.
A couple of things. We have a mediation training coming up this weekend. If people are interested, there's still time to sign up. This is how you can learn to be a mediator of conflict. It goes from 9 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, because we're not live, this won't be on
right
after it's over. But
we'll have more of those. Yeah, if you're interested in learning how to resolve conflict, you can contact us. And of course, to help me get the word about the shelter out, we want people to know about the service. Because I think it takes time, to get the word out into the community. I think so people can know that the service is here, and feel free to just call us, and we can tell you more about it. Of course, you can go to the website to see more as well. But the best way is just to maybe call and ask questions.
So you're not a crisis center. They can't get one of, hey, I'm sitting on the street and I've got a crisis right now. What do I do? They don't call you?
No, that number would be 988. That's the best number to call for crisis. If it's not an emergency number is 911. But if it's urgent,
988?
Well, that's the CARES line. It's run by Aloha House, actually. Manages it, but it's a non-emergency but urgent kind of care line. So let's say someone is needing support for whatever, they're depressed, they're down, they're maybe feeling even. There's of course there's suicide hotlines as well, but if they are feeling suicidal, they can call 988 as well. But let's say they just need support. They're not sure what to do. Their kids been kicked out of the house by their parents. They can call 988 for support as well. Or adults can call it, anybody can call it really if they're in need of supportive resources for anything. It's another information line. It's called the Hawaii CARES line.
Well, that's good to know. See, everyone needs that.
Yeah.
But and any other things? Because I know only reason I'm saying it this way. I don't want to run out of time and miss the most important things that you would like to be able to share. I want to have you back, and if you have anything that you'd like to ever deliver into our show, you are welcome to jump in on any show. We're a call-in, call-out talk show, which is which hopefully sometimes we're going to create situation when you're there in the studio. People will call in and talk about a subject that you'd like to, so you can promote it, and we can do it live on TV and radio. See, we hope to provide a bridge, again, fill in a hole where we can do good, like you guys.
Yeah. No, I think we hit it. I think for now, and I look forward to coming back. And thanks for giving me the time and space.
David Litman, you are a gentleman. I hope that our public realizes the TeranJYoung Foundation, TeranJY.org. It's up there on screen, but if you're on radio, you haven't seen it. 808-866-0833. Info at Teran, TeranJY.org. Info at TeranJ.org. David,
info at TeranJY.org. Yep.
What did I forgot the Y?
You put an extra J in there too. So it's just info at TeranJY.org. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want our audience, they're going to listen again and say, well, that guy Litman, this guy Schwartz, he just cut him off. Well,
no.
Well, I just want to be sure, because sometimes as host, I get a little puffy, but what you're doing is really very important. Thank you for all you're doing, and thank your benefactors for funding the work that you do, my friend.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for the work you're doing as well, for getting all those great messages out into the community. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
You too. Aloha.
Aloha. Well, there you go, audience. We're on the neutral zone, but we're anything but neutral. David Litman, TeranJYoung Foundation in Wailuku, Maui. Aloha. We'll see you again.
David Litman can be found at 808-866-0833 or info at Teran, TeranJY.org. Info at TeranJ.org. I think that subject, Maui Youth Shelter, for kids that are 12 to 17 that get thrown out of house and school and crazy, is a very important service. And those 13 valuable bed spaces are an extraordinary additional resource. This county, I'm sure the state, this country, but surely this county is desperately shy of necessary services for youth, for old people, for people in the middle. You know, if you went through a wildfire, you can get a place to live. You go through a life and you have no place to live, and you can't get a place to live. And the criteria that I consider the most important is, why aren't we helping at a very basic level? All the churches and all the resources that could be able to help on their own properties, with the own resources of their own members. I'd like to see private sector getting much more involved and not passing the buck to agencies, because frankly, those agencies, as hard as they're working and as great a job as they may be doing for many people, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of people that have fallen through the cracks. Lots of people. So thank you, David Litman. Thank you, Sulara James and Genesis Young, who've created this Maui Youth Center and Restorative Justice Center in Wailuku. Again, 808-866-0833. We are the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host. You know, we have coming up on November 17th. Well, let me do it as if I was a radio guy. Make believe there's music in the background. Get ready, Maui. On November 17th, we're bringing the community together for an unforgettable day of connection, fun, and celebration. It's Community Connection Day at Akaku. Join us from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. for a fantastic event that includes nonprofit booths, live entertainment, and special activities for all ages. And the best part? It's free for everyone. So bring your friends and family, and let's create lasting memories together. Mark your calendars for November 17th for Community Connection Day. It's going to be an event you won't want to miss. That's here at Akaku Maui Community Media and KAKU Radio, 333 Dairy Road on November 17th, 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Come on down. You can see that wasn't perfect. I blew in one spot, but that's okay. You know, look, I took a few notes when I was listening to me with David again. You know, the fact is that a short-term shelter is just that, short-term shelter. These problems have to be resolved, and they're larger than any agencies can really handle, because, you know, that's all based on having the money to be able to do it and places to be able to do it. And without the community involved, there simply aren't enough places. There are not enough people involved. So come on, community. Huh? Please be more proactive. You know, I'm sadly in touch with too many people that are homeless, too many people that are sick and need help. And I don't even know how to put it. I'm trying to be nice, because I know that the hard work that people are doing, many times they do from their heart, and they don't like being criticized. But there is not enough help. And there's not enough money to be able to create that help. So it has to be private citizens who say, I have a place, I can help, I want to help, how can I help? Any of those things. Please, you can contact us, 808-874-5900, but you can contact some of these other agencies or anywhere you look. Or there are people that need help. Help. Please help. Someone gave me a thing today about housing. They were so excited they could help my friend who's ill, who needs a place to rest while she's dealing with a significant health treatment, but she has no place to be. She's homeless, and she's 75 years old. And then I read the first line. Governor Josh Green is announced in a partnership with nonprofit Project Vision. They will open up this temporary shelter for Maui wildfire survivors who are experiencing homelessness before the disaster. Wait a minute. That means only homeless people on the west side? What if you're in Paia and you're homeless? What if you're in Kihei and you're homeless? You've been experiencing this wildfire and all that's coming on from it all this time as well. So I'm going to try to push that one today when I go over there and see if I can get some help for someone who needs a place to be while they're recuperating from a health condition that really needs a place to be. When I think of all the problems that the world has, if you were 12 or 14 and you just did something that your parents threw you out of the house, what are you going to do? You really can't go to a regular shelter. First of all, I don't think there are any beds. There might be some kind of emergency bed through, one of these houses that come right out of the hospital. But there's just so many beds, and that kind of an environment for youth is probably extremely inappropriate and not really a good environment, I don't think, for kids. But that's really why, I guess, Genesis and Sulara, along with David Litman and his Keahi, they're at the center of doing what they're doing. Bless you for all that you're doing, and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule, David Litman, to be here with us so we can share with the community. That's you guys out there at the other end of this listening. You're our listening audience. And all around the world, I hope that these messages are carried far and wide, the one of peace and love and restorative justice. I mean, what great concepts that we should all be embracing every day. I don't know what is going to happen in our world. It depends which scenarios you listen to. But with all the fighting that's going on in the Middle East and the fighting that's going on in our national politics and our fighting that's going on in local politics and pointing fingers at all the bad things, I just would like to point fingers at some of the good things that are possible if we can encourage some of the people that have the money to get it into the hands of some of the people that are actively out here in the field to be able to implement programs with less administrative structure. It doesn't seem appropriate when I see and hear, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and Oprah, when we hear, again, it's hearsay, but I'm sure it could be so, that they're paying very, very healthy salaries to people that are involved in their charities to be able to get involved to set up programs. It's I'd like to see the trickle-down theory where the money gets into programs more directly. I still don't understand why there can't be a tent and a bed or a bunch of places where people can take showers and wash, and places where it can be set up classrooms, give people skills, teach people how to grow, apprentice them with different places and companies around the island. Again, these things take money, but there are people that have the money we are hearing almost every day about record profits. You hear Warren Buffett's people in his company, 40% greater cash flow in this 1 year. 40% greater cash flow. We're talking about a lot of wealth. So the people that are knowing what's happening and seem to be picking the right horses, if you will, have resources that need to be used more to help people. And again, that may sound too socialistic to some people. They think that this is a free country and everyone had the same opportunity, and I don't think that's true. But the thing about opportunity that I see is the opportunity when things get rough, people come together. But they're rough. They're still rough. What if you didn't live on the west side, but you were still homeless and you still need a place to stay? Doesn't that qualify you? And you were homeless on the west side, that qualifies you different than someone that was homeless somewhere else? I don't understand that. So I'm going to go over there today and talk to those people, see if I can help someone who's been dealing with this wildfire since it happened. People that were coming out of Lahaina were now in the parks and all over the streets of Kihei and Wailuku and Kaului and all over. There simply is not enough space, and there simply is not enough space to handle these problems when all we do is push it off the curb. You know, we're the county. We drive people off county land, but we don't give the people anywhere to be. We really haven't solved this problem. And on this island, we don't have any programs set up to send people back to the mainland. There's no programs at all that I've seen to send people back and set up shelter and training programs in other places that might have more ability to handle the number of bodies and the number of resources. You know, we see cities on the mainland having problems with that. How are we going to deal with that here where we can't even house our own people, where we're building places faster than we could even dream possible? In the years past, things have been so slow. They're still pretty slow. But, you know, I'm a believer that we can do more than we're doing. A lot of people will try to defend now and say that we're building at a record pace and that we are helping people at a record pace. But when I see the way that this is going on, and I see you know, it really is a sad thing that you see homeless encampments with shopping carts with all kinds of stuff in it grouped together, sitting right outside where they're building the parking lot for low-income housing shelters that are already filled, but there's just nowhere for these people that are on the street to go. So they're just moving the shopping carts and moving their bags when they don't have shopping carts and trying to find a way to get out of the flow to be able to establish some kind of a life. It sure doesn't seem like we're doing enough. And, you know, I guess I'm as guilty as the next person, but I've done all I could do. I've put my housing on the line more than once to try to help homeless people, to try to help people that are houseless. That stuff got to get handled. Those that have resources need to take more responsibility. And I don't know where this is going to go, except, you know, maybe not in my lifetime, maybe within my lifetime. The very way that we're all living is going to be changing so radically because there are just too many people that are suffering. And unless they're just eliminated, which is, I don't know what to say, not humane. But we see these kinds of situations in different kinds of reasons all over the world. That gentle and loving thing that we talk about, it's very hard to implement when there's right and wrong on both sides of issues. But that whole idea of forgiveness, that whole idea of let's put down our swords, let's do something to work together. I don't know. I'm just discouraged. Then I keep thinking that I want to do interviews with different agencies and different people about solutions. And I'm thinking that I'm just going to start into having more fun. These shows are going to have more music and art and discussions and more music and more art and more things that are fun, because things are changing, and at some point a lot's going to be happening where what we're going to have to do to save our world is not going to be fun. So I want to bring fun into all of our lives. And I'm going to start by playing a song right now. That'll bring a little fun. Here's one. I like this one.
Every day,
Louise Lamb.
worlds are
Peace in
born
our hearts.
and worlds die away. Seems like now the world's so small, we see it all right here on our TV. Seems like the more we bridge the distance, the harder it becomes for us to see. Well, if all the world's a stage, we're actors in a play with an ancient script of fear and doubt and greed. To write another page, to find a better way. Reverence for life is what we need for peace in our world, for peace in our country, for peace on our street, peace in our house. It all starts with peace in our we fear the dark, we mortgaged all our future to keep the hooded horsemen from the door. We're talking peace, but building bigger weapons, so it's closer than it ever was before. But in the land of the free and the home of the brave, why do so many people need a gun? If it were just you and me, the world could be saved. 'Cause deep inside, we know what must be done for peace in our world, for peace in our country, for peace on our street, peace in our house. It all starts with peace in our Seems like there's something we forgot, something real close to home. As we see life through the eyes of a child, we find again the truth we've always known. For peace in our world, for peace in our country, for peace on our street, peace in our house. It all starts with peace in our heart, peace in our country. No letting fall apart. Peace on our streets, peace in our house. It all starts with peace in our hearts, peace in our country, peace in our country, peace in our streets, peace in our house. It all starts with peace in
For peace in our world. Peace in our world starts with peace in our hearts. We got some work to do, huh, people? Yeah. Well, we're at the close of another show. Here we are in first week in November 2023. This next season that we're in is really an unpredictable one in our world. I hope that we add our love and compassion into everything that we do. I really do. Next week, I think we're going to have some music. I'm going to have much fun next week. I'm going to see if I can fit live musicians in here or get some of their music and bring it back on a disc. But maybe I can get some live people here. 11 o'clock on Monday. Could happen. Thank you for joining us. MauiNeutralZone.com. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host. It's been a pleasure.